Fifthly, thanks, Deputy Speaker. It's been a long, tough 2 weeks, especially for our friends opposite. And I think at the end of those 2 weeks we should have a bit of levity, start with a joke. Scott Morrison. Because Scott Morrison, as Treasurer, has been an abysmal failure in every respect other than one. I didn't think it would be possible to make Joe Hockey look good. Scott Morrison has proved otherwise. Scott Morrison has proved that Joe Hockey didn't do such a bad job, and I never thought I'd say that here. And now, what have we got? We had a new Treasurer come in who was telling everyone for ages he'd be way better than the former Treasurer Joe Hockey. He had been there, eager for that job, wanted to come in and show us what he could do, and wanted to be able to come in and make a big run for the GST. He thought he had it all sorted out, that the GST would come in through his superior advocacy, and what happened? Last week on Insiders it came to a shuddering halt when even Malcolm Turnbull, who promised economic leadership, went backwards, put the gears into reverse, went backwards, and you saw the credibility of this new Treasurer go down the gurgler. And it has been also an insight to see the way in which they have framed their response to the economic challenges facing this country. Because mind you, when we were saying in government, when Labor was in government, we said that revenue would not be able to keep pace with what was happening in the slowdown in commodities and the way that things were cooling off with the resources boom. Those opposite refused to believe it. And yet when confronted with the same thing, it appeared to them as a revelation. They went out and said to the country, guess what? The resources boom is slowing down and we're not getting as much money. No, we knew that was coming. We knew there was a challenge. There are two competing responses in this country to the challenge. The challenge that is confronting the nation in terms of that slowdown and what it does to the budget. There is a compelling vision. The vision of that side is that the way out and the way to face that challenge is to hit low and middle income Australia on so many levels, be the GST, increasing the costs of living, and then basically reducing the ability of low and middle income Australia to respond to that by, say, for example, having an argument about cutting penalty rates. At a time when the economy is slowing down, taking away people's ability to match or to be able to spend in the economy, and then also hitting them on top of it with a GST. And that's been the response. The tax plan of those opposite has been to make life harder for individuals and then also ruin their ability or make it their earning ability and capacity to shrink. That's been your response. The compelling vision should be that is the vision that is being put forward by Labor, which is that we all have a part to play, that we should all have a way in which to be able to meet that challenge, and we should all benefit as a result of that. That we should not just have one part of Australia, low and middle income Australia, basically carry the load. That's why we've said, for example, that multinationals who game tax systems all over the world and have the ability to pay should pay. When we say that wealthy superannuants who are earning more than $75,000 a year through superannuation should pay a little bit more, those opposite screamed this was not right, it wasn't fair, and we couldn't change superannuation policy. When we said, for example, that increasing the excise on tobacco should be done, those suddenly discovered an interest in low and middle income Australia, saying, well, you can't tax low and middle income Australia. And some of those people who pay a heavy price through tobacco consumption as well. We have said all along we're happy to accept lower revenue if we see less people smoking, and we have already factored that in. But we have got a vision that is quite different to those, where we do not expect people on lower and middle incomes to wear the load that you want them to carry. We think that we should be able to have people who are in a capacity to pay. That is the way it should be. And now what's happening? Now that they've ditched the GST, what's happening? They're suddenly the big defenders of multinational tax reform. They're suddenly now considering, after telling us that they'd be looking at superannuation change, and they're also looking at negative gearing changes. All the things they spooked the country and said shouldn't happen are now looking to be on the table. It demonstrates they do not have a tax plan other than taxing low and middle income
The
Australia.
member's time.